Oh, it kind of looks like a bomb went off in the garage because I've had like everything upheaved in order to film a video. There's like lights and all the yard stuff is off the wall on the floor. But I wanted to take the opportunity before everything gets upheaved again to show you how I actually set up one of these conditions with the laser shooting across the room and how I film that with the Lightspeed camera. Lightspeed camera. They're different units. What are you going to do? First off, if you look at the cables that are traipsing across the floor here, there are two cables that make their way from the camera to the laser, and both of these are used for timing. This distinctly lower precision red and black like speaker wire looking stuff, I'm going to try to come up with a full schematic of what this actually is and post that somewhere, like maybe on a GitHub page. But in essence, this cable has a signal coming in that is a 5-volt signal from the Arduino while that thing is rastering. Right as it starts to scan, the Arduino sends a signal that says, start blinking the laser right now. That comes in on these lines. It gets sent through that that optocoupler right there, which turns on the blinking. This laser then starts blinking at almost 3000 hertz, and every time that laser blinks, there's a current being fed through the laser feedback signal that comes down one of these wires and gets sent onto the second board. You can see I planned really well, where that signal gets inverted, amplified, and sent into this scope probe, where it gets sent down here into a significant quantity of coax, which delays that timing signal by quite a while, and then that heads over to the oscilloscope. This red and black cable is basically telling that laser to be blinking or to not be blinking, based on whether or not there are 5 volts applied across these two wires. The precision of this signal, like when it should be blinking and when it should not be blinking, doesn't really matter. I'm going to talk more about the data collection in a little bit, but basically, as that mirror starts rotating, when it reaches a specific angle, the laser has to start blinking, which means that the speed of this signal is really related to the speed at which that mirror is moving, which is to say really, really, really slow. On the other hand, this black cable is coax. I bought what I think is relatively high quality coax, spooled up here to be a big long delay, and the precision and the timing of the signal passing through this cable is really, really important. This is the actual timing signal that allows each individual pulse of the laser to be recorded by the oscilloscope over there. So this has to be accurate within a half a nanosecond, literally every single time. Every 3,000th of a second, this cable is getting a pulse sent through it that said, hey, the laser just turned on, and then it runs over there, and the scope says, I'll record the data that just came off of the PMT. You should respect things with very high power outputs, even if you have reason to believe that it's not super dangerous. Especially when you're about to point them at a disco ball. Now, to set up the light bouncing back and forth experiments that were sort of the hero shots for this video, I'm using these two big mirrors. These are just, plain mirrors that you could put on the wall that I got at Amazon, but I have them sitting on these brackets that allow me to point them. I have these adjustment screws on here that allow me to very precisely shift this corner of the mirror and the back corner of the mirror with respect to the light stand, which means with respect to the top. So by tilting this in two different directions, even though they're not orthogonal directions, I can steer the beam wherever I want over there. It's really nice to have something like this and go, wow, I need a precise mounting for this. And after like 10 minutes of staring at it and then 10 minutes in CAD and like 30 minutes of printing, you have a prototype. I really, really love 3D printers as like fast way to get things done. On that note, I just finished printing this adapter, which takes the 1/4-20 thread of this light stand and turns it into what I determined was an M8 for the disco ball. I have no idea why the disco ball has an M8 on it, but now I have this plastic coupler. And yes, this is an actual garage with garage things in it. Looks reasonable to me. Somewhere over here, I have a box full of optics. God, I'm blind as a bat. Right there, it says optics on it. camera stand from the original Oculus Rift. Everything needs so many light stands. I actually took a light off of this one though, so. Because I don't want to have to deal with disco ball reflections until I really have to deal with disco ball reflections. Man, yeah, the disco ball freaks me out. I don't like this because it's not predictable. You don't get to not look at it. I'm wearing the orange glasses, so I can't see diddly squat, but I'm hopeful that you can see on the wall over there that I am illuminating around the disco ball, just barely. I ended up using the cylindrical lens because this laser's beam shape is like really wacky. So it comes out as sort of a vertical strip, and then I use this to expand the strip sideways, which gives me that like rectangular strip that ends up hitting the disco ball. Having a high-powered laser pointed into a disco ball is really terrifying because whether you're going to get hit by a light direct is like a total shot in the dark. You just be walking along and all of a sudden you get a flare at exactly the wrong angle. That's what you don't want. Turn that off. Now it's safe. Hey, I can see again. Okay, sunset is at 7:04. So now the little bit of light that gets in through the blacked out windows over there is too much while the sun is up. So I need to wait for 2 hours before I can actually record a video, but I only have to wait for an hour and a half before I turn on the PMT and get it warming up, because it takes like 30 minutes to stabilize and for the noise level to drop. It has now been a while, and the passage of time is such that it is almost sunset, which means that I need to heat up the PMT. To finish what I was saying before the camera ran out of memory earlier, I actually recorded an entire video with this camera with the lens cap on. Because I did that, I got to learn just how bad it is to turn on the PMT and immediately start taking data. As the camera scans, it was scanning the frame from the bottom to the top, and the bottom half is significantly noisier than the top half, and I was only recording noise because the lens cap was on. So it was a really good visual example of why you need the entire setup to sort of heat up and stabilize before you start recording information that you care about. Okay, so there's our timing signal. That means that this is coming in properly. Now to film the bit the other day, I had this set way off of where it should be. So this is going to go all the way up back to, what did I have, like 135 millivolts? Something like that. Now I'm going to test everything. Oh, did not detect enough photons. Yeah, because shoot. Okay, I do need to turn on the PMT. I am totally blind. So I had all the shrouds off of here to actually film the pieces to camera so that you could like see what was going on, but I still need to isolate this from all the light that is caused by these monitors. Since the opaque black plastic is clearly not enough. And then this goes over these. Perfectly light tight. It's not the best, but it's enough. Now, in order to turn on the PMT, I need to plug this into here, but I'm not going to do that with the lights on because I would fry the PMT, even with the lens cap on the thing. That would be bad. Okay. Now the PMT is on. So if I throw this into auto, and I take it out of sequence, yep, those are our photons. Neat. And there is the signal coming from the laser. Not that one, this one. Position mode, full cycle, V4, call and response. Python and the Arduino IDE like to steal COM ports from each other. Well, they don't like to steal COM ports from each other, but they need to. They don't. Uploading the proper sketch. All right, so this should have just recorded like, oh, there we go. So the test works. That's all I cared about. I can take this, put it over top. If I set this up to 32,000 ISO and all the way at f2, we can see that there's a little bit of light leak, but it's really not much. Now, I tape the light switch shut and we wait for half an hour. The scan that's running out there doesn't matter. It's just sucking up hard drive space. So the PMT should be warmed up by now, which means it's time to go start the fog machine. And by start the fog machine, I mean turn the fog machine on for like 30 seconds and then turn it off. When I first started playing with this, I had too much fog, and that was a significant problem because you couldn't see the other side of the room. It wasn't scanning as fast as I wanted it to, so I just rebooted and said, you know, whatever, it's probably something easy to fix. I also realized that I still had some debugging plotting in there, and now that's gone. So before I forget, I'm gonna go take the lens cap off. And I'm not gonna point any flashlights in the direction of the camera now that I've done that. Takes a few minutes for the fog machine to heat up, and I'm gonna shoot the fog straight into that fan so that it disperses evenly through the room. And then you should start to see lines above me. I'll do this for like 30-ish seconds. Okay, that was like 40 seconds. All right. Now, we go start the real recording. And without being able to hear, wait, can I hear? I should be able to hear through this. Do-do-do-do. There we go. All right, so here I have local Python. Here I have a remote control of the computer downstairs. And here I have the folder on the RAID where everything's going to get dumped out as soon as it's recorded. So I have been running this, which is the blink program, which was just turning the light on and off so that I could line everything up. And now I need to put it back to position mode full cycle v4 call and response. So I click upload there. I'm using the OpenRB 150. Is that a thing that exists? You can program this thing in the Arduino IDE, but it has special ports on it that allow it to talk to Dynamixel motors, and I'm using an XL330M288T. Actually, I'm using two of them, one for pitch and one for yaw. And then there's also a single digital output that is used on that Arduino that sends the signal down the red and black wires to the optocoupler that says, start blinking the light now. So now it's starting to run. It just recorded 1,000 photons so that we have a deconvolution kernel for later. And now it's starting lines. So it's going bzz, 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 bzz. It's pulling data pretty quick. It says that we have 96 minutes left, 74 minutes left, because the first one's always slow. It should be a little less than an hour to do a full scan. So it says that it's going to be done at 9:16. It's 8:15 right now. Yeah, pretty good. Now I'm going to go eat dinner and make sure that the door to the garage stays shut really tight. I was laying on the couch downstairs and I decided to check on my phone remote controlling the laptop, and it said, oh, it's done. It says line 718 out of 720, line 719 out of 720, and then it says line 720 out of 720. 8 seconds left, even though it was done. So like, there's an estimate. All of the data from all of those scans gets dumped into this folder because it is live sending information to the RAID, which lives behind the computer down there. I'm using a lot of storage. Common misconception about high-speed video is that it requires a ludicrous amount of storage space. And it only requires a ludicrous amount of storage space if you're saving a lot of data, like many seconds worth of data. Well, it's not up here right now, but my regular high-speed camera, RAW, saves like 128 gigabytes. It has that much RAM in the camera. And as you record data, when it saves it all the data, it's just raw, every pixel value dumped out, it'll be like 128 gig. But that's really only like, let's see. Oh, I have a Python terminal. I can do math. It's about 1500 frames per second divided by 30, which is 50 times slower than normal. And you multiply that by like 15 seconds of record time, which is 750. You divide that by 60. There you go. That entire file, once it's properly compressed, is only as long as a 12-minute video, like a regular video that's 12 minutes long, which can be a lot of space, but it's going to be like a couple gigabytes. It's not going to be that huge. The problem is when you save all of the raw data, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm only recording for a microsecond, and the entire scan that I just took was 30 gigabytes. It has moved on from processing all of the files. It's now sorted every bit of data into its own pixel and averaged across the pixels. Basically, for each pixel in the 2D image, we have a 1D vector of all of the time data that came from the oscilloscope, or multiple oscilloscope traces, which means we've got a big 3D brick. We've assembled a 3D brick out of a whole bunch of one-dimensional lines. And now it's slicing that data into two-dimensional slices and saving each one of those slices as a video, as an image. And then when we play them all back, it's a video. So this has now saved 1,000 images. We have a video that is a half a microsecond long. We only end up with a half a microsecond of video because it throws away the beginning because it's just, black, the laser isn't on yet, and it throws away the end because the end of each of these oscilloscope traces is actually the timing signal, the synchronization spike. Frame display mode sequence, or else this would have taken a year to open. Python export, disco ball hero shot 1. You want to watch grayscale, blue-white, or Veritas? Let's watch blue-white. Oh, that's cool. It's way too fast. Like, I need to slow it down. There is still some line tearing on the really bright things. That whole lining up each pixel with the encoder information is not 100% right. And I wish I knew why. There we go. That's really cool. Oh, I wasn't watching for it to hit the back. There we go. Hits that. And then it casts a shadow. The rays show up before the stars, but then oh, these showed up really late. Let's see. Stars, 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 stars. Wait a year, and then we get a star over here. All right. And then it turns off. The rays should just click off. And then the stars go away. That goes away. That's really cool. It works, and it's so much better than before, even if the tearing artifacts are not totally gone. I basically started from the ground up with the second camera. All of this semi-automated scripting is fantastic. So this automatically runs deconvolutions with 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, and 160 iterations within the deconvolution algorithm. And this one is parallelized. So yeah, it cooks. If you put your hand behind the computer, you can feel it being really warm air that comes out of the computer. It just takes a 24-core Threadripper to 100%. However, the actual saving of images is still very slow because I haven't yet threaded that part. I might someday. But that's the whole process. So from setting up a scene to getting to watch a video at, 2 billion frames per second takes at minimum 2 hours. And that is after many things have been, automated and fixed up in a pleasant way to make that process smoother. I've made that process significantly smoother than it used to be because I want to be able to take a lot of videos with this camera. There are a lot of fun things you can do with light and things you can look at when you can film at 2 billion frames per second. So look out for a lot of videos probably over the next couple of years coming out on the main channel. Thanks for visiting channel number 2, and I'll see you next time. I have to go get all the fog out of the garage.